Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in Weird News. And oh boy, today's story is the kind of headline that makes you ask, am I reading about an actual event or the rejected pilot for a Netflix series that was too bizarre even for 3 a.m.? We're heading into the Scottish woods, where a missing Texan mother has been found living with a self-proclaimed king and queen who say they're the descendants of ancient black Jacobites and have returned to reclaim Scotland as the true Jerusalem. Which, to be clear, is not the weirdest part. The weirdest part is that I read that sentence 3 times, and it still sounds like the Mad Libs edition of Game of Thrones. So let's break down this kingdom in the woods. A missing Texan, a self-proclaimed king, a lost tribe prophecy, a baby in tow, and Scottish authorities who clearly went to work that morning thinking, we signed up to handle sheep permits, not biblical cosplay. The missing Texan turns handmaiden. So here's the setup. 21-year-old Cora Taylor, young mom from Texas, goes missing. Family back home is frantic. Cops start looking. And where do they find her? Not at a Greyhound station, not in a Vegas Elvis chapel, but in the Scottish wilderness, living in tents with something called the Kingdom of Kubala. She's not just hanging out either. She's gone full rebrand. She now goes by Asnat, Lady Safi, which sounds less like a spiritual awakening and more like the username of someone who spends too much time in Dungeons and Dragons chat rooms. And when police say, hey, your family says you're missing, she fires back with a video like, leave me alone, I'm not missing, I'm an adult. Which honestly is the most millennial thing ever. We all disappear for a while, change our name, join a forest kingdom, and then post a video explaining how our parents just don't get us. Now let's meet the royal family. Step aside, Charles. There's a new king in town. His name? King Atahine. His past life? Opera singer from Ghana. Which means Scotland officially has a king who can both belt out Puccini and declare sovereign ownership of a tent. At his side, Queen Nandi, mother of 7, Zimbabwe-born, rocking her new title like she's starring in a low-budget spin-off of The Crown. And then, their handmaiden, our Texan Asnat. Their big claim? They're the lost tribe of Hebrews. Not only that, but they say they're the rightful descendants of black Jacobites kicked out of Scotland 400 years ago by Queen Elizabeth I. Which is fascinating because I'm pretty sure Queen Elizabeth I didn't deport anybody to Texas. But hey, history's complicated when you write it on the back of a napkin at a forest drum circle. And get this, they believe Scotland is the real Jerusalem, which is a bold claim. If that's true, someone owes a lot of confused pilgrims in Israel a refund. Segment 3, life in the true Jerusalem. So how does the kingdom of Kubala live? They say they reject earthly authority. They bathe in spring water. They live in tents. They follow only the laws of Yahuwah. And honestly, it's either a holy mission or the roughest glamping trip of all time. Like, imagine going from suburban Texas, where your biggest problem is whether Buc-ee's is out of Dr. Pepper, to a Scottish tent where your king is yelling about ancient prophecies while you boil nettles for dinner. That's not enlightenment. That's what happens when your GPS loses signal. But hey, they've got rules. They claim firebombs hit their tents once, which means somewhere in Scotland there's a guy who said, I've had enough of this nonsense, grabbed his lighter and declared war on biblical camping. Segment 4, Cowra versus the family. Here's where it gets weirder. Cowra says she's not missing. She says she escaped an abusive family. She's happy. She chose this. Her Texas relatives say, no, we raised her in church. She was sheltered. She's been manipulated by a cult. So we've got 2 realities. In one, she's Lady Safi, reborn into prophecy, chosen handmaiden of the kingdom. In the other, she's Cowra, daughter who vanished after meeting some internet friends with a flair for cosplay. And her family is basically hoping the thing that saves her isn't a change of heart, but the expiration date on her 6-month UK tourist visa. Imagine that family prayer. Lord, please watch over our daughter, and also may the Home Office get really picky about paperwork. Segment 5. Local authorities caught in the middle. Police Scotland and the Borders Council are stuck in the weirdest standoff. Do you arrest them? Do you evict them? Do you call in a biblical historian to mediate? Imagine being the Scottish cop on this case. You signed up to break up bar fights and chase sheep off highways. Now you're negotiating with the self-declared king who says Scotland is Jerusalem. That's not police work. That's the side plot of a Monty Python sketch. The council handed them eviction notices. The kingdom ignored them. Now it's a test of wills. Bureaucracy versus prophecy. Spoiler alert, prophecy doesn't usually file taxes. Segment 6, the bigger picture of weird. So what do we learn from this? First, Reality in 2025 is stranger than fiction. Second, if you disappear, your family will absolutely assume you've joined a cult. And third, apparently all you need to start a kingdom is 3 tents, an opera voice, and a Wi-Fi connection. And isn't this just perfect for our times? On one side of the world, people are arguing over democracy. On another, they're fighting famine. And in Scotland, we're debating whether a forest is Jerusalem and if Cowra Taylor is missing or just spiritually rebranded. In closing. So that's today's weird news. A missing Texan, a self-proclaimed king, and a Scottish standoff that makes you wonder if we should just let Netflix handle the police reports from now on. Because if this isn't the pilot for Real Housewives of the Forest Kingdom, I don't know what is. Until next time, remember, if someone tells you they've discovered the true Jerusalem and it's located behind a Tesco in Jedburgh, maybe, just maybe, you're in weird news territory.